Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and we are just a couple of days removed from the latest mini set release that saw Yogg and, well, that Cthulhu portrait get released into the game, and I thought I would give my deck recommendations on what you can expect to kind of reasonably climb, whether it's getting to silver, gold, platinum, diamond, or legend for the very first time in standard, wild, and twist, with 5 deck recommendations for each mode. Although standard, I give a few bonus options. And a reminder, we do have our giveaway going on, another one, I know, for the Cthulhu portrait. I'm giving 2 out of my pocket. We'll announce the winners, I believe I said on September 27th, so like a week from yesterday. To enter that giveaway, like a comment in the video in the description below, be subscribed to the channel, and you'll have a chance to win. And starting off with the decks in standard, we're gonna go with 2 different warrior decks because yes, warrior is crushing it. It is ranked first right now on HS Replay. We've finally come full circle from last to first, and we're gonna go over basically the 30 card Odyn Warrior, which got one of the best cards from the mini set. It is ridiculously good. Sanitize, the 4 mana forge spell where you deal damage equal to your armor to all minions. You forge it, you gain 3 first, so guaranteed 3 AoE, really solid. And people are even running the new Yogg Saron in there, which has the abilities of like you get to either mind control something, mass hysteria the enemy's board, or get a handful of tendrils, which can be pretty crazy value in the late game. You're going to see a lot of Yogg in this list, by the way. It's a really good card. Everything else basically stays the same, but a really solid deck. It can control the board early on. It's more of a tempo combo style deck. It's not really your classic control. I don't even like calling it so much a control deck. It feels more mid-range with a good finisher. You don't have brawls in this list. It's trying to kind of tempo out, and you got the Rift package in there, of course. So yeah, dude, it's probably the best warrior deck, but I also want to highlight Theo's 40 card warrior deck. He's gotten to like top 20, 25 with it. I've been playing it. I have a positive record, so that's something. But yeah, it also takes advantage. Mostly, I think it only really has Sanitize as the new card. It's got the same shell that it did before, where you have your 40 card value. You can win through like Prison of Yogg Saron. You'll note no Yogg in this deck. He did originally have Yogg and just felt it was too slow, too awkward. But if you want to slot Yogg in here and you have the card, cut like a weapons expert, you can do that. I don't think it's a big deal. And overall, yeah, it's just the same kind of similar build as before, but this AoE, the Sanitize, just makes your Ignis a lot more reliable, and it's just a ridiculous board clear. But it's more of that conventional control deck where you can just like fatigue people or run them out of stuff because there's a lot of value, whether it's Asvedon, your Rifts, Ignis, Khaz'goroth with the whole Prison of Yogg Saron, and you can even high roll Naga Giants where you basically Lava Gorger, gain 20 armor. That can be really good. That can also be 20 damage. And also I had a game today where I played Black Rock and Roll off my Prison of Yogg Saron, got a 31-31 giant, and my opponent couldn't kill it, so they died. So there's also the potential for that high roll, but overall I don't think it's as good as 30 card or as consistent. But if you're looking more for that control style game, you can go for it. And yeah, throw Yogg in there if you want. I don't think it's probably that bad. The next deck that got a huge boost that's really good, quite fast, is Arcane Hunter, which got one of the best new cards in the mini set in Celestial Shot. This allows you to just boost your reach by quite a lot. It deals 3 damage. Your next spell has spell damage +2. That could curve into Eversong Portal, giving you 3 4/4s, or maybe even more if you buffed it with the Farstrider, sorry. But we even run Yogg because there's enough spells in this deck that Yogg comes down and it gives you basically either AoE, but more importantly, the Tendril option can be really good in the late game of just trying to get some randomness, some high roll in there. And yeah, this deck is one of the best performing decks in standard right now. It already was pretty much before the patch, and it's right back up there with that Celestial Shot boost. It is pretty darn good. Next, we're going to highlight a deck that I don't think has a single new card, but Control Warlock still really good. I have to recommend it if you still have those cards. Yeah, it's still really solid. Sargeras for 3 mana. Pretty good off your Symphony of Sins. It's not punished by reverberations as much as we mentioned in yesterday's video. and it's still a super solid, great control deck. You got Ignis in there for another, win condition, all of that. Some people have been running 2 Doomkins instead of 1. Some people have cut Prison of Yogg-Saron for it. Some have cut Drain Soul. So if you're wanting to try and run 2 Doomkins, go for it. It's a pretty darn good card, especially against those slower decks. I think it's a legitimate option. And of course, Forge of Wills is just broken. This whole deck I don't think exists without Forge of Wills. Playing that into a 4-mana 7/7 is just disgustingly good, and this is an insanely strong card. And yeah, the deck's still doing well. It just isn't super popular right now because it has 0 new cards, but I still have to recommend it, as I have to recommend Mech Rogue, which again doesn't run any new cards. The new 4-drop doesn't seem like it's making the cut. Discovering a mech is not really worth it, but Mech Rogue is still really good, really fast. I still think probably a target of a possible balance patch at some point. This is a little bit more late game in here with Prison of Yogg-Saron, but overall you can't really fit a Yogg into this. You don't have enough spells, but yeah, if you want again a deck that you might have the cards for already, Mech Rogue is absolutely phenomenal. And then I'm going to go to the decks that I won't recommend as heavily. First is the new Undead Priest, which I think is really good. Ant had a really good climb with this in like top 500 legend, had a very positive win rate. I think the only new card he's really running in here is Soul Burner Varia. And yeah, she's just incredible getting that board of undeads out there, and it's playing her, pushing that additional reach, getting spells. You can give her Reborn with like Undying Allies. You can bring her back with High Cultist Basilisk. Very, very good card. And you have Amenthal in here because it's just a broken Titan. It has like really no synergy. It doesn't matter. It's a broken card. And yeah, it plays it, and it's a very aggressive deck, and you can kind of smork it up. And you have a lot of Death Rattles, which can trip up warriors quite a bit. I mean, I faced this deck once on my 40 card warrior climb, and I lost to it. I just couldn't deal with that early game aggression. And then the last 2 decks here, these are definitely the most fringe. I don't know. They're really popular, but the sample size isn't there, and I don't know if they're good, but they're based around going like crazy with Yogg. So first is the Rogue deck. That's like the hotness in Legend Ladder. Face it all the time. I don't even know if it's good. And by the way, if that's signature, I gotta swap that out. But I don't know if this deck is even good. I see it all the time where you're just trying to play your chaotic tendrils, ramp them up to like be ridiculous. You got Shadow Step, Breakdance, which you can also hit, of course, on Astalor, but you do all of that, and then you have Yogg, which you can replay and spam Yogg, fill your hands with tendrils a bunch. But once you get to like 10 mana, it gets really dicey, like Pyroblast and Guardian's Grace that can buff your opponent's stuff. Like, I don't know if the deck is good. It looks outrageously stupid to play, and I think people are having a lot of fun with it. I just don't know what the win rate is like yet, but I gotta recommend just a pure chaos random tendril rogue, which is what I envisioned was going to happen before they came out. I kept saying like a miracle rogue with, the tendrils, and that's what people are playing. And again, I don't know how good it is. Tentacle Grip just seems like a really good card regardless, but give it a shot if you have the cards. It's mostly just Concoction Rogue with a couple of the new cards in there. So yeah, might have this, and go for it. And the deck that I think might actually be really good is scary because it's kind of like Tony Druid and Wild, the Miracle Rogue for Yogg in Druid. And Savid's today on ladder went like 80% from like 600 to top 100 legend playing this. He's also very good and can navigate a deck like this. But yeah, Gadgets and Auctioneer, play a bunch of cheap spells that you can make 0 mana with your Lifebinder's Gift, draw your deck, get Yogg out for 0, you can fizzle it, and then you go Ignis, try and get a Wind Fury weapon, and kill your opponent with Forbidden Fruit, giving yourself that big attack bonus. And you can go off with this stuff super early since you're like tutoring your Nourish with Embrace of Nature, ramping, drawing. Really solid. From the looks of it, I think this deck has a shot. It doesn't have the tutor for Auctioneer. It doesn't have the win condition of you play Tony and fatigue your opponent to death like Wild. But look out, this could be real, and I thought I'd highlight it because it does look kind of fun to play if you're into that solitaire gameplay. Just be aware, there's APM and a lot of confusing turns, and yeah, a lot of it also made possible by Contaminated Lasher, giving you that insane mana cheat. And we'll quickly go over Wild and Twist because not a lot has changed. It's just gotten more degenerate, but Discard Warlock, still really good. There's a billion builds out there. I got one that got rank 1 legend. It's got Zeph, Symphony, and Phenatum in an ETC if you're really really want, you could just cut that and run like another target dummy. But yeah, Chamber of Isidis, absolutely broken. I expect this deck to get nerfed soon. They did say like a twist and wild bounce patch would happen shortly after the mini set. So be aware of that. If you're thinking of crafting stuff for wild and twist, I would hold off on it. But if you have the cards, yeah, Disco Lock is absolutely nuts as well. And twist, we'll take a look at that. I'll highlight Tony Druid because yep, Tony Druid, it's not even running the new 2-mana refresh card because you just don't need it. You have all the cheap spells and Lightning Bloom and Bio Project and Gloop. You just have enough mana generation as it is. Play Auctioneer, draw your deck, Tony, Solar Eclipse, Naturalize, Solar Eclipse, Naturalize. You win the game. It's gross. I really hope it gets destroyed soon. And if Auctioneer is actually kind of being degenerate in standard, I think the odds are a lot better of that happening. Shudderwalk Shaman, a good option to try and counter these decks with your disruption, your board clears, that's basically what it is. This is a very refined version that got rank 1 legend that's literally just Toxfin Flurgle, no like hand disruption for minions because there's just no point. And against like Tony Druid, you play Stomper, Loatheb, repeat, try and beat them that way. This is like literally built to beat those decks, which are pretty darn popular at the moment, as is Frog Shaman, another very solitaire deck. You play the quest line, you try and rip through your deck with Frog, Flash of Lightning, do infinite damage. Another very, very good, disgusting deck. You see the style of decks in Wild, right? Odyn Warrior is a deck that just stomps on all of the aggression in the game and can beat Discard Warlock with your board clears. It's got 2 new additions now with Sanitize, right? The new AoE is really good in Odyn Warrior, but now we can run Ignis reliably, and that's also quite good there. So if you want to place an Odyn Warrior, pretty darn good. Those additions help out quite a bit. And twist, yeah, it's the same thing we've had since the launch because they haven't done anything to help out the mode. Jade Cthulhu Rogue, really solid. Play the Jades, play the Cthulhu cards, get a big eye stock of Cthulhu because of Blade of Cthulhu. Really good, really solid. If you want to play a bit more aggressive list, Jade Pirate Rogue works as well. You're playing more of the early game pirates. You have some more reach with like Eviscerate, Lotus Agents for some Discover. Just be aware that you don't have the hard removal so much to deal with those big eye stock of Cthulhu's from the Jade Rogue, so that can be quite a problem. That's why people have been playing a lot more of the Cthulhu version. Discard Warlock, we know it's broken in twist. Chamber of Isidis is just unbelievably busted, and of course Tiny Knight of Evil can get out of control and all of that, but really it's just the location is just so dumb. And again, I imagine it's going to get adjusted. The Zoth Warrior is one of the other actually really good options. Gallon hit rank 1 legend. He's one of the Hearthstone devs, got rank 1 legend with a very similar build. I basically took Emperor Thorson out, put Dr. Boom in. I just felt it was a bit better. Maybe you disagree, you can run whatever, but overall you shuffle it in bombs with Blast from the Past, Iron Juggernaut, pushing face damage with Death Spite, your bombs, your boom bots, Grom can bring it back with N'Zoth, and you're just trying to outlast your opponent until they draw their bombs and blow up. And it has a shot at beating Warlock, it has a shot at beating Rogue. It's a really solid deck, and I've had a very positive win rate with it in twist. And the last twist deck, Face Hunter, one of the only other reasonable options. It's an aggressive deck, and it's got a high roll of Trial of the Jormungers, which if you haven't drawn your Dread Scale or your Acid Maw, gets both of them, copies of them, which clears the board and are threats that have to be dealt with, which is extremely good. And you got your early game with like Leper Gnomes, Mad Scientists, all that good stuff, and it's a very effective, good face deck. So there you go. That's a bunch of decks to play in a bunch of different modes. Hopefully we hear about a balance patch. I'm expecting next week sometime, and then we'll have some updated lists and all of that for that going forward, and we'll probably have nerf predictions and other news in the meantime. But if you haven't entered that giveaway, please do, and good luck on your climbs. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.